Ableton Brawl is Ling. That makes a lot of sense.
I've never noticed that. I really haven't.
Because again, it's a pool of 100-something heroes.
There's so many heroes
randomly given to you. You're just not going to see it again, the wall situation. Let's get into the game.
All right, so TLID is still respecting the Freya of KBG, one of their favorite picks in the region, and honestly, super flexible for them. As we mentioned yesterday, the Phoveus gets taken out, but yeah, you see KBG hard focusing on the junglers here of Favian.
But on the opposite side, TLID is just targeting the EXP, right? Are they assuming that win return is not... If they limit down his pool enough, he's not going to have a good time? I mean, the fact that he plays Freya alone tells me that his pockets should be deep.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think for KBG, win return has been, as you mentioned, Leo, you told win return just be solid. And he's that guy for KBG to activate the course.
He's got to keep best, man.
Just got to keep best, win return.
Keep best. Because again, compare that to how Aran plays.
Yeah.
Aran is just in your face. Aran, I've heard this from our Indonesian colleagues. Of the 5 members of Team Liquid ID, Aran is the one who will mostly freestyle.
Really?
When you're talking about the whole witty, the wise, the maestro, he's the one who's like, you do this specifically or else you're gonna freestyle.
Ooh, all right, so you got one guy doing freestyle hip-hop in a jazz band. Wait, that sounds fire.
That does sound kind of fire.
That's what makes Aran such a wild card.
He is a wild card, but at the same time, he needs the right pick. And honestly, considering the number of bans, I'm assuming that it's going to lead more into the damage sector here. But for now, first problem, we are already seeing a 50% win rate on this Zhu Xin. Again, I think it's S tier, but so far in the Swiss, it's been up and down.
KBG actually struggled against the Jushin yesterday when they picked up a Belleric against it, and now they're going up against the Jushin. I feel like maybe this is KBG going into this saying, we've learned from what we had to go through, so now you will see the results of that learning. Oh, I mean, hopefully we do. Not a lot of picks right now that make the Jushin struggle like crazy. I mean, we saw it earlier.
Still a very specific pool that Liquid ID are allowed to play with, given the high loss. You effectively block heroes like Nolan out, because you're so easy to just bonk with a Law and Order, and then...
I think that's what they're thinking. I mean, it's very Favian, take down Favian coded. But there's Joy. I mean, you can still get bonked by the high loss. It might be a little bit harder for him, but I still feel like KBG still needs to respect what Favian could potentially do with it. And Widdy gets his signature Cho.
This is kind of interesting because at the very least, like, Cho can still be flexible. Most likely it's going to go on Widdy like 9 out of 10 times in these types of matches here. But the fact is, what exactly is the plan from the side of TLID? You've already limited down what the EXP pool needed to look like. You also have this Zhu Xin that you can play around with the Cho as an expected combination. But then you throw in Joy. That's the part that's off-putting. Well, it's a bit of an oddball.
Like, what do we do?
Exactly.
Because you still don't see the payoff. You got good CC, you have good pickoff, but what kind of damage comes through? And here you're seeing KBG setting up a solid box.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Earlier we thought that the Jushin Eva relationship is a little bit more clear-cut. Of course, NIP Flash outplay the Jushin in their series up against Aurora. Now, as much as I want to say, you know what, maybe the Juice is going to have a little bit of a better time, the presence of the Joy, I feel like, is quite concerning.
I mean, it is concerning, but at the same time, they could still technically go for, oh no, but then they will lose pressure over the mid lane. I'm thinking Matilda because it hasn't been touched at all in this particular game, and even KBG are saying, if we're going to fight for priority, let's just take away the prio heroes.
Yeah. And they respected the Matilda potentially coming up there for KBG. Good ban coming in from TLID. As we're going through the bans here real quick, since we didn't get a chance to bring it up earlier, and just so we can set the baseline, are all of us predicting TLID in this one?
I still want to see the draft.
You still want to see the draft? All right, so you want our prediction for this one to be draft-based?
I mean, with or without it, I'm still going with TLID for me.
Ah, such a cavalry boy,
I'm leaving the door open.
All right.
I think KBG has proven that they need to be a force to be reckoned with.
All right. Okay. Let's finish up the draft. Oh, yeah. Take away the Beatrix, damage-wise. You don't necessarily... Oh, wait. Irithel's still so open for TLID.
It is open, but it might not necessarily be a decent pick here. Because again, when you want to play Irithel, there's two things that you need to work for. Number one, can you like truly abuse it with something along the lines of sprint so you don't have to take Purify? And do you have a decent lane matchup? And against something like the Bruno, yes, you can kind of poke him out, but eventually that Bruno is going to be a very deadly force.
And there's room for more tanks in KBG's draft.
Yeah.
So you want to see that come through first. Like, what am I dealing with frontline-wise? I don't want to get punished as soon as I jump in with my heavy crossbow.
So if ever KBG pick their jungler first, see the gold laner of TLID, and then you pick your goal. Excuse me. I might have mixed it up around. Oh yeah. Just pick your jungler first.
Yep.
Oh no.
Wow. There you go. So with this move alone, by allowing them to see what the peel is, what the front line is, you can tell if you can Irithel. Would you Irithel here, Goodin?
No, most likely not. I'd be a little nervous to play it, especially, I mean, the Glorious Pathway alone denies you a lot of your passive damage, which is where the majority of Irithel's damage comes from anyways, even when you do have full build.
That's a nombo.
It's a
non-starter, dude.
I wonder what they're going to be putting in the gold lane then, in terms of the physical one.
You got simple dudes like Moskov.
All right.
Yeah, Claude even.
Claude, the Eve,
okay.
yeah.
What are the lane matchup? They might consider lane matchup, maybe even 1-1. They don't have the burst for it, but it might be tough.
Your team is
Excuse me. Yes, of course, Granger.
Breakout hero.
Still not used to him being available for us.
I agree.
And being in the gold lane.
And being in the gold lane, too.
This is a really interesting composition, right? Because yes, they do have pickoffs, but you have really easy ways to not only open up the map, but set up for like incredible fights. Like, you are not running away from Granger plus Jushin.
Yeah, and what now will the jungler be for KBG? Seems like any assassin you might put in might be difficult. Oh...
Would they Fred?
Maybe would they try to go Nolan just so that they could get that quick little burst off?
I don't know. When you're up against a Cho, and especially if you have glue to worry about as well, I think I'm going to lean with Leo on this. That the Fred makes a lot of sense.
The Fred or the Bane. There's enough of a front line and what we call in the business the swimming pool. You set up the RWM, you throw in the deadly catch, no one's coming out alive.
Is that a vote for KBG from you?
Draft-wise, I like it.
All right.
I'm a simple man.
I'm still TLID.
I'm still TLID too. Let's ask the Great White himself, Naisu, alongside Ing, and what they think.
That threw me off, Redmar. You know, Great White or not, I'll tell you what. I know you guys are TLID. I'm going to have to go with KBG here. How about you, Ingan?
I have to go with TLID. I like their lineup. I like their aggression. And I know they're eager to bounce back up against KBG. And just looking at the lineup right now, I'm pretty sure Leo is having fun because the Bane is in the hands of a Filipino, Saksha, repping KBG.
You know what? I'm loving the Bane. And I didn't know in the business we called it the swimming pool, but you know what? We'll make it work because we're going to be jumping in the land of Dawn once again between these two teams, Team Liquid ID and KBG, fighting for that victory ahead of them. Have a better chance of moving forward out of day 2 of the Swiss stage. Which team will it be? Let us know also what you guys think, if it's going to be KBG or TLID. We know how vocal you guys are in the chat, of course, but with this, I would say, you know, I like the lineup that KBG brought, and the reason being is because of that potential to go ahead and set things up between the RWM. Even looking at the emblems here, you know, this is the thing that I like is you'll have two tanky guys, the Gatakacha plus the Hylos, to go ahead and cover the front to back if you need to, or even set things up by cutting people off with the Glorious Pathway. But then not only that, Egon, but also you have two Revitalizes. Like, there's so much sustainability from KBG's lineup.
And speaking of sustain, you can see Aaron Shiki also has the Tenacity plus the Impure Rage. So in terms of sustaining his own lane, he's going to be up there, up against Bilexi's Bruno. So let's see how TLID will respond. But look at Aran just really dominating early on, forcing out the Revitalize of when return. And that's what you want if you're a glue. That's just meant to disrupt, and he's not even done. That was a huge, huge blow. The longest first blood I've seen. And even with the Revitalize, Aaron was able to dominate Wind Return.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised, you know, even with the Revitalize, that there was that much pressure. And this is This is no, action-packed lane. It's a glue and a Hylos.
It's supposed to be a dead lane, but there was the first blood, and now they're going right after Tracy. Popping again, they're revitalized. Now the electrifying beats, but there's the deadly catch coming in from Saksha. One more hit for Tracy. He's going to escape, but TLID, they have forced KBG to use to revitalize right away.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing, too. I'm wondering if they're actually going to be able to go ahead and get that first turtle up. They know that Saksha had to burn the deadliest catch. It looks like they're going to be getting in position. LMU doesn't have the real-world manipulation just yet, but it looks like we might even see the fight for this. With Witty, he's got this signature true pick. Yeah. We've seen him do time and time again. Has that Way of the Dragon available, plus the flicker. He's going to go set things up.
He's going to commit the Way of the Dragon onto Wind Return, forcing out the Revitalize plus the North Pathway, but Fabian will get the turtle. Here comes the AOG, responds, and gets a kill onto Saksha. Now, Wind Return might fall down once again in the hands of 3 TLID members. And KBG, they're having such a hard time going up against the composition of TLID.
That's the only thing. And that's why usually when you see that Hylos across from you and you've got a Jushin there on the other side of the table, it's tough to get away. Because once the Glorious Pathway is laid down, you're not going to be able to escape. You just keep getting dragged back and back and back. And Wind Return is literally just trying to return, But he's not able to because of the Jushin across from him. So with Team Liquid ID setting a pace already early on, 3.5 minutes in, they've got a couple kills, they got an objective, and they really just kind of stopped Wind Return from having, that comfortable lane that you might want to have with the Hylos. But obviously he's still going to be useful later on when you get to these team fights and you have just that strong ultimate, that Glorious Pathway. But there's got to be an answer here. There's got to be something that KBG can do to stop the bleeding. Oh no.
Look at Windy connecting again with the Way of the Dragon. Here comes the Revitalize from Tracy, plus the Glorious Pathway from Wind Return. AOG to walk away, but
takes it to the turret.
He's still there. He's gonna break down Tracy in exchange for Aran, and TLID's aggression is just unmatched right now, forcing out a lot of ultimates from KBG, even Dead Clutch, plus the real-world manipulation. And still, after all that, TLID still stands strong.
That was the play, though. Tracy, that's the best Tracy could do. Jump Avatar of the Guardian into the turret and hope that you're able to turn, a bad situation into something better. But even then, again, they're going to be facing this obstacle ahead of them. That turtle take. Lexi is just trying to farm up, do his thing on that Bruno that we've seen very successful for a lot of teams. But I think still, for KBG, even with the lineup they have, they're going to have to approach this turtle carefully, knowing that that beacon is available. And Fabian, he doesn't have to really just push this into himself. Fabian can do what he wants.
Another kick from Winnie, setting things up perfectly for TLID to bring down Tracy once again. Now they're on the charge, forcing out the real manipulation coming in from LMU, but he's gonna fall down as well as Wind Return. Saksha is the only one left, and on top of that, TLID, they still haven't secured the second turtle.
Leave it to Witty, man. He'll just go ahead and say, you know what, let's just go for it. Goes in with a kick, sets things up. Team Liquid ID comes in and just collapses on KBG. And even, with Saksha trying to get in position for these objectives, it's just not possible because they have to be so reactive to what Team Liquid is doing. That's another turtle now secured here for Team Liquid ID.
Reminiscent of Edok's show yesterday against the same team, against KBG. Now KBG's forced to face another Cho main in Windy, and so far so good. A lot of good Way of the Dragon keeps connecting and translating to kills, easy kills for TLID, even forcing out the Revitalize. But despite the sustain that KBG has with their kit, TLID just manages to burst out the damage they need. And another, they're planning to get Wind Return here with the Lantern Flare. Now KBG forced to group up because at this point it's hard to go. Now Wind Return forces to use the Glorious Pathway defensively, and Team TLID just going to make quick work up top, tier 1 turret.
And when that happens many times here, Ingan, Fabian, okay, he's just going to push Saksha off the purple. Should be able to secure it, takes it away, yeah. Takes it away.
And that's the thing, if you're a Bane, as much as possible, you don't want to be on the receiving end, especially into the early game, because you're going to really have a hard time trying to contest for objectives. Even your own jungle is not going to be safe anymore. And KBG, at this point, they have to They have to extend this game and eventually let Blexi have enough space, have enough items necessary to get that power spike eventually. But TLID, I think they want to end this game as fast as possible.
Definitely en route for that. Holy Crystal now locked in by Fabian. And this is the thing, taking a look at the items, I mean, this is just such a drastic difference from lane to lane. Even, and like I said earlier, with the shutdown from Wind Return, I mean, look at how much he's struggling to just even build that first item into this, the glue. And Dominance Ice is enough for Aran to deal with and cause enough havoc on the back lines of KBG if he wants to. This turtle, I don't think they actually contest this. This is probably just going to be, yeah, look how quick it goes down. Secured there, 3 for 3, putting pressure now just on these buffs alone from Saksa. Split by split going to be used, but ultimately that's the thing. Team Liquid ID, look at this.
Oh, they're going to commit the split. AOG again used defensively by Tracy as TLID will work on the top lane turret. 4 members of KBG working on the middle lane just to try and secure it as Aaron Shiki gets another tower.
All right, we got to start thinking here, like what is KBG able to do in this game? That shield up top already popping. And you know, you're still a minute and a half away from this lore to come up. Now for KBG with the lineup that they have, you're thinking, you know, we talked about the fact that you can play into the RWM, but LMU, you know, he's been setting it up, but they just don't have enough power in the punch yet. They don't have enough to deal with this, because even if you look at how much farming is being done from Team Liquid ID and the plays that they're making across the map, they're just outgunned right now for KBG. And even though I mentioned as we jump into the game, hey, they got 2 revitalizes, they should be able to sustain through that. We're seeing it right now throughout this game, you know, almost 9 minutes in, that they haven't been able to. And they just have to watch these turrets get taken down. I think part of it is they have a little PTSD from Witty. You know, this Cho so far, even if he doesn't go for a kick, just the fact that he's like G-Condoing in front of them, like they don't even want to move close enough for the mere fact that he could flicker and set things up with that Way of the Dragon.
You know, the PTSD does not come from Witty, although it came from Edog yesterday. And so far, so good for TLID. Again, I do agree that they can play around the real-world manipulation, but not just that, they also have the Glorious Pathway and the AOG, but the problem is TLIG is just so fast-paced at getting those setup plays coming in from Witty that KBG doesn't have time to react. Like, even if you have a Glorious Pathway, like, what do you do from there? You're going to eventually use it defensively. And when the time comes, you've used up also your real-world manipulation. You don't have the necessary damage to keep up with TLID. Although you have Sustain, what's Sustain going to do with the damage TLID is bringing?
Yeah, this is a massive lead. I think one of the biggest ones we've seen so far today. Nearly 11,000 gold as Fabian secures this Lord and furthers that lead to that 11.5 thousand gold. Just now, the Sky Piercer being picked up by Ezekiel. And so this is going to be very difficult. You know, probably one of the most difficult defenses that a team has had to do so far, as KBG is facing a massive deficit. You can see that even Divine Glaive now picked up too. Oh no, Tracy be dragged in. Look at the shots. Even keeping him in check. The shield's going to pop. Mid still holding up. But that Lord is making its way, and at this point, I think it's dire to say for KBG. I'm not sure if they have enough fight in this roster, in this lineup, to stay in this game. It might actually be ending here as Team Liquid approaches the base.
Okay, LMU cast the real-world manipulation along with the Glorious Pathway as Lord marches into the middle lane. They're doing the best to try and defend. Tracy goes in. AOG again used defensively. Here comes Fabian onto the back line. Wants to go for Saksha, but the Revitalize is there to save Saksha as they try to work on the mid lane turret. Once again, a kill onto Wind Return. No inhibitor turrets will be taken down, but TLID got a kill onto the XP laner of KBG.
They got a kill, and I'm surprised. You know, that turret didn't go down. It was good that it was cleared out. So Team Liquid ID, even despite a massive goal lead right now, they'll go ahead and just take what they can from the jungle.
You know,
KBG facing against this, you know, you have to kind of put that into context. Like, when you're down this much and you're forced to just be in this side of the base, you know, what do? How do you handle this? Because the assault on the base is going to continue on whether there's a Lord or not. And they can still actually try to set things up. But if KBG is left to their whims of, all right, we just got to farm what's being approached to the base, you know, how much time do you actually need? Look at because so far this is the most that we've seen of Bruno not being able to provide any damage, provide any effect in some of these team fights. you know, because of the mere fact that they just don't have the space to work with.
Yeah, at this point, KBG is just really hoping for an overextension play from TLID, from Widdy or from Aran, get a huge pick-off, then use the numbers game to their advantage. And that's all KBG has to really do. Just hold on, go with the base defense, eventually let Bilexi have the power spike that he needs to take down TLID. But at this point, TLID is playing everything to perfection. They're not overextending. KBG only has 2 kills. And on top of that, you know, there's a 13.5k gold lead, so TLID can't afford to make mistakes no matter what.
Oh, if they do, I don't know. I know
Oh!
Okay, hold on, never mind. I guess, you know, at that point, you don't want something like that to happen, because I was going to say, if you want to try to make a play with Team Liquid ID staying so front forward, even with Ezekiel, then maybe, you know, maybe you get a bunch of gold in your pocket. Maybe you slowly start to turn things around. But KBG's stuck in their base, man. Like, that's the situation. They're stuck in their base. They don't really have anywhere that they can go around with. And they're just stuck there because the gatekeepers right now are 3 members of Team Liquid ID. You know, while they just hold down that side, this next Lord is secured. It's going to be punching in the base once more. And this time, you know, this one's going to be charging in and getting these base turrets down. While the rest of Team Liquid ID, it's just like they're, you know, approaching the siege of the castle right now, and KBG is struggling to really find a window of opportunity for themselves. They might have to clear these waves the best they can, but looking at the items before they actually do that, you can see how lack in damage they have. We'll see if they're able to clear things out. There's the punch-in.
Widdy goes in with a conceal. Jit Conduto connects onto 2. Double revitalize from KBG, but the sustain is not going to be enough. LMU is going to fall down alongside Tracy. They still have the Lord. TLID on the verge of going back to the right path as they take down KBG.
A massive, massive gold lead will be a dominating win for Team Liquid ID here. Probably the biggest we've seen so far, and a very tough game for KBG. They'll have to go back to the drawing board as well, because Team Liquid ID, the adjustment they made, the draft they brought, really no weak points in it. You know, from start to finish, they played the tune right, they played the roster and the composition exactly to the T and exactly what it needed to be. And although the game plan there from KBG's lineup was clear, you know, fight around the real world manipulation, make that work, unfortunately they couldn't. They couldn't execute it the way they were looking to. They didn't even get a chance really to fight into objectives, and that's what that lineup should have been able to do. So unfortunately for KBG, they'll have to figure out what works for them.